All right, yo, we're back one more time from London town with our boy Billy Body with the hot news. What do you got? Boom.
Well, I'm only going to do one piece of news this week.
All right.
And the news is that I was right. Everybody else was wrong this week. It was embarrassing for people. There were dirt sheets getting worked. There were dirt sheets getting paid. Nobody had the story. One guy, Meltzer and Alvarez, had the story, but they were paid to give out the version that Tony Khan wanted him to give out. Sean Ross Sapp was embarrassed, completely embarrassed, and I was the only one that had it right, to the point where Mark Madden went out on Sunday and said Billy Barty's the only reliable source and everybody needs to follow him. And all these idiots just come back with the usual. I've now noticed the most ridiculous thing was happening, and I was speaking to Disco about it earlier. There's now universal acknowledgement that I am better than everybody else at this, right? They now know this, and they say, yeah, he's the best, but he's a...
There's a lot of stuff you say I disagree with, right? Big deal. That's your point of view. That shouldn't tarnish the credibility of the reporting you're doing. Now, if you were not a credible person, you would not be on this show.
I heard that.
Your views on other stuff, those are your views, bro, and I respect them, whether I agree with them or not, but they don't. You have to be right and also think like they think, and right. That's where we have a disconnect.
I mean, there's always these guys are just constantly like making it. There's all these unwritten rules, and the rules they're not really rules. They're like if you say something that's outside the box on a certain subject, you should be put in this cell and have rocks thrown at you. And it's like, so dude, that's like one thing I say, and it's like, they want to demonize you, but it's like, but in this whole big picture of like, I just want in wrestling journalism, I want when something happens, if the people that profess to be the journalists, I want to know what happened. I don't want to swerve. I don't want to get worked. It's at some point, this is like Hollywood. This is like sports. There's a truth in everything when things happen. And it's like, I just get the feeling, I think like everybody does, that most of the dirt sheet guys, the journalists, are like, that they're not going to report things that are going to make people that run the companies upset.
Right. And plus that, they're fanboys.
Right.
And they want to get over with these people. But, Disco gets a lot of the same heat that Billy does. I get more DMs than the stuff you see on Twitter where they try to pressure me and try to publicly shame me. Oh, we thought you were cool. How could you like Billy, or how could you hang out with Disco? Bro, go yourself. At the end of the day, I don't give a what you think.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what really bothers me real quick is when they say we don't want them in our community. We don't want them a part of our community.
I don't want to be a part of that community.
Who made you in charge of any community?
Right? Yeah, I don't want to be a part of that community either.
I don't want to be in that community. Right?
Go over the time on what happened with this, because I still have. I spoke to you earlier, Billy, before we went on the air, and I was just confused at why they chose the fact to have MJF no show that meet and greet as one of the things to generate interest when there's like other things, so many other things you could have done. Like what was the timeline? What happened here? Why did they do this angle? And just to reiterate, tell the story because this wasn't work.
All right, so the story was very, very simple. It came about because there were issues between MJF and Tony Khan, but we already talked about it. That was my story before everybody's story anyway, where I told you I did it on the show with Mark Madden. Me and Madden talked about it, and we said that MJF was the 14th highest paid person in AEW. And I also said that he did have one of those $70,000 a year contracts that was upgraded.
How much?
$70,000 a year.
That's how much he was making
in the first year, but it was immediately upgraded like in the second year.
To what?
To $1 million.
He went from 70,000 to $1 million in 1 year.
Yeah, he was working Cody and all these other guys. Like he was in the top tier.
I mean, Konnan. Just a little sidebar here.
About that.
He's complaining now because 10 guys got signed on more money than him since he signed.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, so there's every reason to complain there because he should be one of the top 3 paid guys there.
Actually,
and to their own fault because they pushed him like that. You know what I'm saying? He's knocked out of the park every time he's been on TV. So it's like, yeah, go ahead.
So the contentious issue is that his deal runs out in 2024, and Tony said you're already one of the highest earners, but there's like 14 other guys ahead of you. There's even a thing this week where someone was telling me that Mark Henry and Paul White signed for deals very, very close to $1 million as well. So I think it's been misreported that they're actually higher than him, but they're not that far off. JR is making the same.
Bro, they're paying Mark Henry $1 million and Big Show.
They're paying him slightly less, but above 750, but less than $1 million.
And what's he doing? He's doing announcing on Dark.
Yeah.
Who's that? Actually, like Mark.
No, you
Mark
get
Henry
Tony Khan. You could get Kevin Gill for like $100 a show. You know,
Mark Henry
and a slice of pizza.
Goes to a lot of ambassadorial like meetings.
You can get Kevin Gill for a Monster Energy drink, 2 slices of pizza, and $100. And instead, you pay Mark Henry. You're paying Paul White $1 million.
No, you could probably get him for free because he's such a mark.
Mark Henry and Paul White are going to a lot of other things in the week. Like they represent AEW on a weekly basis.
Like goodwill ambassadors type.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was the issue we talked about with MJF. So this week when there was a game 7, they decided to do something else with him. So he had talks about his contract. He got his money upgraded. Within the contract.
Now, I'm asking about this. Nobody's reporting that.
Okay.
So you're reporting that he has gotten his bump in pay.
He's got his bump in pay, and he hasn't had to add more years to the deal to do it.
Okay.
So he's on a trial basis at the moment with Creative Control, where he's doing the story. Have you got can you just read the WhatsApp I sent you? Is that okay?
Joe's got it.
Joe's got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that'll be a lot easier. Then I can talk about it if you have any. So Joe, read it, and if Konnan and Disco have questions about anything in it, then I'll answer it. That's the easiest way to do this.
All right.
A strong inside source, along with various other sources who are actually in Vegas, have informed me that the MJF situation is a work. Okay, it is believed that MJF got his wish to double his salary for the remainder of his contract and has been given short-term creative control. If this period is successful, it is believed that MJF will transition into a tweener face who will chase the world title and sign a new deal with creative input and right of refusal. AEW owner Tony Khan pulled the trigger on the current storyline to begin this weekend due to the fact that the Miami Heat beat the Boston Celtics in Game 6, setting up a Game 7 that will go head-to-head with the AEW pay-per-view. Khan didn't want the pay-per-view to lose buys or lose viewers at the start of the show, and he has therefore created the current intrigue surrounding MJF. The current reports from the likes of Mike Johnson and Sean Ross Sapp are completely wrong. Only Brian Alvarez has issued a correct statement about MJF's plane ticket, with both Meltzer and Alvarez completely in the know about the storyline. Meltzer's quote stating MJF is in town and appears to be wanting to be Brian Pillman was said to be orchestrated by Meltzer and Khan. This is one of the rare occasions where Meltzer is completely in the know, and who's reporting will be an instrumental part in the upcoming developments, albeit fake news which will be fed to him by Tony Khan to enhance his revolutionary storyline, which may finally be an actual game changer.
So if you're a listener or a viewer of the show, you're reading that story, you're thinking, oh, when was this put out? Like, it was put out on Saturday. So whatever this is not like retrospective reporting. Like, this is not me giving you the story after the promo, right? Glenn knows, Joe knows. This was posted on Saturday. So you've seen the promo from MJF. He's a complete tweener. They're doing exactly what I said. I knew what was going on Saturday. This reporting is levels and levels and levels above everybody else. And as much as I actually said in that report, Meltzer and Alvarez know what are going on. The Brian Pillman line was deliberately put out so that you could think that MJF is turning into Brian Pillman, because that's what MJF wants to do. The creative control side of MJF is I now want to be Brian Pillman.
Madden's on record that Meltzer was helping Pillman when he was doing the Brian Pillman the Crazy Man stuff. That Meltzer was reporting, he was helping Pillman out.
Yeah, Meltzer's on record saying that as well on Dark Side of the Ring. So
right, that's interesting.
It's the same thing. It's just the same thing. I just think it's fascinating that these guys are just you're just the dirt sheet guys are in work. That they're in the business now.
Yeah, well,
they're like in the scrums. They're in they're on shows wrestling. They're doing cameos. They're consulting with the booker, and they're doing angles on the show. I'm like, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, because
like,
you got to remember, bro, a lot of these guys, including Tony Khan, I'm sure, grew up reading Meltzer.
They're all from the same community.
Yeah, so
like
they're
the dirt sheet. Let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something.
Go ahead.
When I broke into the business, I knew nothing about wrestling. I wasn't like your typical wrestling mark that had posters and grew up wanting to be a wrestler.
You were kind of like Luger getting into it. Like,
right.
Knew about it. Like, but you're right. You got into it.
I just kind of walked into it and I was like, wow, this is dope.
Right.
So it wasn't like, most of the wrestlers, when I talked to them, the majority of them, they wanted to be wrestlers since they were kids. That wasn't my thing. But anyways, so when I remember I was in a car and Red Bastien, I don't know if you remember him, Glenn.
I know that name. Yeah,
Red Bastien was in there. Another guy called Carl Lohr, who used to do wrestling matches here in California. And they were driving me up from San Diego to San Francisco. And one of them broke out the Wrestling Observer. And I was like, what the is this? And I didn't know nothing about the business. I knew, bro, I knew nothing, absolutely nothing. And I started to read it. And that's how I got my education, reading Meltzer. That's how I found out how much people made, what was going on in other promotions.
Yeah, you never got the sheets before you were in the business. I me neither. I had no idea when I walked in the locker room and some guys had it. Like, what's this?
Yeah.
So this is like the rest of
But to a lot of people, including myself, Meltzer was kind of like a teacher. You know what I'm saying? Like your source of information. And all these guys grew up like listening to him and watching him, and so he has a lot of credibility with a lot of people.
Right. What about go ahead.
This is similar to, I mean, back in 2017, because he thought that I was different and thought differently to the other fans. I used to give creative input, and I used to get my money PayPal to me by Road Dogg from creative, and throughout 2017. And then eventually he started asking me, what does Austin think about it? What's the difference between what you and your son think? So I used to get that payment from Road Dogg every month throughout 2017 until I had a fallout with Sportskeeda over some comments about women's wrestling, and he said like, oh, we can't continue this relationship anymore because when social justice hits, like everybody has to take themselves out of the firing line. So that's what he did. But yeah,
I want to tell we spoke about something that I found very interesting. Konnan will be interested in this too. We talked. I said I wanted to talk about this next time you're on. You used to promote boxing?
No, my brother does.
Your brother does, but you said weren't you into what does your brother do?
So me and my brother had the same job. We used to promote club nights. He got hired by MTV. I got hired by Ministry of Sound. Just two different music companies. I left.
Wait, Ministry? You got hired by Ministry of Sound? Like that's EDM?
That's
right. I remember Ministry of Sound.
Yeah. I had to go and I had to work for a brand called Head Candy down in Brighton. They were losing about £5,000 a week because nobody in Brighton was into house music. And I said, look, you got a great bar, a great look, and it's a great brand, but in Brighton, you think Brighton is like London. You think this town is cooler than it is. It's kind of like going into, I don't know, let's think like Nashville or something and trying to put a bar that would be in LA. If there's like a LA brand and you put it in like Nashville or something, that's what they were trying to do. So that they had loads of football because Brighton is a seafront town. And my job was, as soon as I got in there, I was like, okay, nobody knows what this is. They know, everybody in London knows what this is. So did
you promote DJs and stuff?
I stopped all of that because they were paying $2,000.
How much do they pay Fat Boy Slim to play in a club?
Fat Boy Slim about £3,000 an hour. Right.
And now DJs get $100,000 a night. It's they're good ones.
But what they needed on their budget, what they needed is a DJ that got £200 a night just to play normal music, and they needed to just sell tables for £300 to £500 and become an upmarket venue that looked very VIP, rather than trying to sell people on a type of music that they weren't into. That's how I changed the whole place. So I used to work for them, but what my brother did is that he then went into independent consultancy. So this particular job that he just had, some millionaires reached out to him and said, "We want to get Floyd Mayweather to fight on a helipad over in Dubai, wherever it was." So yeah, that's what he ended up doing. So he's now available for hire to run events. So he'll like source out. He'll go and get all the funding to like make sure you get your money back. He'll source the location, the equipment, all that kind of stuff. That's his job.
Interesting. And he was promoting a Floyd Mayweather fight?
He just did that last Floyd Mayweather fight.
Oh, hey, that was his last fight. Your brother promoted that? Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's why I send you all the videos with Floyd training and Anderson Silva training and all that. Yeah, they were his videos. He was taking those while he's walking around.
Interesting. What about, let's talk about this real quick. NBA Finals starts tonight as we're recording this.
Yeah, that's what's like looking at the prop.
Who do you like?
Here's the thing. This is a weird one.
Now, Konan's a huge Boston fan, so there's a lot of emotional investment here for Konnan.
Yeah.
He's going to be,
The thing is for me is that I feel like the Golden State will end up winning, but I also like all of these teams at home throughout. So I'm with Boston getting 4 points tonight, and they're probably going to get that every game. I feel like that's going to be a profitable spot to continue betting. But at one point, I feel like I'm going to take the loss there because I just think Golden State will win it. I'm more certain that Golden State will win all their home games. But the line of 4, what 4 points means is that when Golden State go home, they're going to be a 7.5 or 8 point favorite on their own home turf for every single one of these games. So I feel initially that Boston are being massively disrespected in this market. Like you can't make.
Wait! Time out. Where are you sure you got this? Where's the first game at?
Golden State.
It's at Golden State, Billy.
No, it's at Boston tonight.
No, it's not. No, you got that mixed up. Golden State. These teams are roughly even. Golden State's favored at home. That's why it's relative. Which is why it's kind of bizarre that Golden State is that much of a favorite in the series. That's the narrative here. Like Golden State's like a 220 favorite or something like that.
I think one of the reasons that they have Golden State as a favorite is number one, they have the home team advantage, which really hasn't mattered because Boston has a great record on the road. But the second thing is, and this is a big thing to a lot of pundits, is I think they have an experience of 123 games and championships, and Boston has 0.
So wait, Golden State don't. The Boston have 4 home games, right?
No, Golden State does.
But Boston was a higher seed.
No, but Golden State had a better record. When you go head to head, that's what it comes down to. The Golden State was 53.
Bro, it's very easy to look. Look right now. You'll see it's like Golden State.
Golden State finished with 53 wins, and Boston has 51. The Golden State's the home team.
Okay, I haven't started doing it yet, which is why I started doing.
Okay, well, Golden State's a home team. They're only favored by 3.5, 4 points tonight.
So I started doing the props just now, and there's nothing at all. Like there's 91% of people that bet that Curry gets over 27.5 points.
Yeah, Jordan Poole over tonight is a good bet. In game 1s, he's been great. So
there's like the lines are all done like properly.
Well, who do you like? Who do you like in the series?
Yeah, I think I like Golden State in the series because they haven't lost any home games in the whole playoffs. So I don't see why they would lose one now.
I kind of like Boston in this, just for the fact that I think they're like you can tell they're a gritty team. They've dealt with adversity. They've come back every time they've been beaten. Every time they've been punched really hard, they've gotten back up and punched back really hard. And regardless of like the finals experience, I think you learn as you go along. When you show that type of mettle in the previous rounds, and even though you haven't been in the finals, they're a tough out. And I just don't think Clay is back to where he needs to be. And like something, I don't know. I just like Boston. I like Boston. Go ahead.
So. Being as objective as I can be, I think that, Boston went through a harder schedule to get there. So they had to go through Brooklyn. That was a tough team.
Right.
That was a tough team. We almost lost to them. We had to go through Miami and beat Miami at home the last game, but you've got to respect that Michael Thompson, Draymond Green, Poole, Curry, Curry's going to get his. You can't double team him because then the other guys will make you pay for it. But I'm loving that Boston defense, and I'm loving the fact that Boston, just like, Golden State, has a lot of players that can score. This is going to be a really exciting series. I don't see any blowouts, but you never know. Obviously, I'm going with my Celtics.
They've never lost a series that Clay, Curry, and
Draymond.
Yeah, those three have played. They've never ever lost a series. When they lost,
there's always a first time.
When they lost to the Cavs, one of them was out.
Yeah, well, there's always a first time. Let's go C's. That's going to be in about an hour and a half, right?
It's 6 o'clock tonight. Yeah.
Okay,
so,
2 hours.
Yeah. I want to get to the gym before these things start. Where can we find you at, Billy?
Yeah. So I'm at the Twitter account is at K100Informer. If you're going to send out tweets to Meltzer and Sapp, make sure you tag me. I want people to start doing that. These two guys. My Twitter account is at K100Informer.
Wait. Why Meltzer? What happened with him?
Just because he's the one who's credited by all the dirt sheets every single time. Like anything he said.
So you're mad at him because other people are crediting him?
Right.
Come on, dude. I can see Sean Ross Sapp because he actually takes shots at you.
Meltzer's harmless because everybody. It's like Meltzer's like Dan Rather.
Uncle
it's
Dave,
like they don't care like that. They've been following him for years, and he puts so much stuff in his newsletter that it's like okay, the guy's gonna get some stuff wrong. It's like pages and pages every week. It's like nobody cared. But Sean Ross, but Dave is not like as combative as Sean. Like Sean Ross Sapp is just like he's just.
I don't know Sean. Let me tell you, Billy. I don't know Sean. Never met him. Don't read him. I don't know much about him, so I can't really articulate on him. But I do know Uncle Dave, or as I call him. Did you ever see the series Dexter?
Yeah.
He looks like Dexter. Boom. But anyways, Gin and Juice and Molly Meltzer. He's a cool dude. You would like him if you actually sat down and chopped it up with him. But continue, Glenn.
Why doesn't he come on then?
Come on, what? Bro, he's not going to go on every show he's invited on. If he doesn't know you, probably not going to show up. Bro, how long have we been trying to get him on our show, Joe?
Oh, he hasn't been on for at least a year.
He's busy. Yeah. He doesn't, but go ahead.
That's what I mean. But then, these No DQ, Ringside News, Wrestling Inc., Raj Giri, all these people, just tag them all because it doesn't even have to be me. I don't care about me. I don't need any more money. My opinions, which are supposed to be so bad. Listen, I'm driving an £80,000 car and I'm living in a £1 million apartment with no mortgage. My opinions, whatever you think of them, have paid for everything. I don't need any more money. But K100, we deserve to be credited for all of this news, and people are going to start doing it. Otherwise, I ain't going to do my show. Like until we start, I'm just going to come on here. I'm going to do my 20 minutes. Now everybody's like, "Oh, can you please come back on YouTube?" Why? So you can like unappreciate my work for another 9 months? No. Like if I start seeing
that's not a good reason not to do your show, bro. How about the people that do like you or do follow you? Why do they get over?
And you don't want to lose momentum.
Like who's gonna, bro? It's like these guys are competent. Like here's the
your rationale's kind of weird.
It's like because here's the problem. There's like a sea of like competitors, and they have fans, and it's like was this like the football leagues? Like we have our fans, they have their fans. Each team has their they have their followers. And it's like, what are you gonna do? It's like, bro, this wrestling news.
But they're
it's
not,
like
but they are a lose. All of those people are like a losing
Billy, it's
team.
like,
but if I stop doing this show because of people that don't like me or criticize me, I'd be missing out on all the money I'm making.
Right?
They don't like me. They don't like
that's
me.
The thing. I'm not going to not do this show. I could do this show's different. Like this show, I enjoy doing. Like I don't see the comments. Like you guys, the people I watched growing up. Like this is like a thrill for me. Like
talk sports, it's like
I like I can sit here and mark out. I'm doing a show with Konnan Disco. I worked with Cav for like 6 years. We've never been so disrespected as we've been on this show. So, like, if you want me and Cav to carry on,
bro, that's the wrestling community. It's like to look at all of us. All you got to do is tweet one thing that these fans. All you got to do is say
that's not an excuse. Like, I'm from the gambling community and I'm respected by everybody. You will respect me, otherwise I won't come to work. That's it. Like, that's my attitude. I'm not going to change it. I'll be here with these guys every week. I haven't missed a show. But I'm not going to give you an extra hour for free, like unless you start showing me some respect and start doing what I want you to do.
If you put all the hot news, I wouldn't mind you putting all the hot news. I wouldn't mind you putting all the hot news on this.
Good luck trying to get people to do what you want them to do.
Listen, they're all atting me, and I get hundreds of messages every day, Everybody's telling me.
Well, look, I'm glad at least
But-
you're doing our show because you know you bring good, credible news. You're controversial, and you're a friend of the show.
But one more thing I want to say about coming on this show as I move on to lock betting. Everybody's there, like, you know, I see these comments about, oh, like they don't put Billy in the title because people won't watch whatever. Are you idiots? Like, I'm
But
here.
how many people are commenting that? You find one comment on that, it's like it's a comment, bro. These are
Yeah, you see that, but here's the thing.
It's like I don't.
That's the thing. You need to get out.
Bro, we
of the
give you
rest-
what they don't understand. We give you a platform. We've never told you don't say this, don't say that. We've told you, hey, that's a bad look, and if you continue to do it, that's on you. But we give you a platform. You say what you want. This is your segment.
Here's the thing, like if you get out of your little wrestling bubble, last week Real Madrid won as a plus 160 underdog, right? I said it here on the show. If you get out of your little wrestling mindset and actually listen to everything I say on here, when I start talking about sports and everything else that you're getting for free, you're going to make a load of money as well. Like, so you're going to get the right news and you're going to make money every time I open my mouth. Good things are going to happen.
That's the thing, bro. I can't believe people aren't taking advantage of your picks, which is the great success rate that you've had, and make some money. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you a question. How has lock betting been since you've been on the show? Are you getting fans from this?
I get, you know, it's always a case of you'll always get fans from where you are. You'll always lose people for like personal reasons, but obviously, you know, I have that rule where
we talk sports every single week. So and then we talk with you too. So it's like we have a community of sports fans too. Yeah. That like the people that like, you know, they like wrestling, like sports, like music, like politics, you know, that's our show, you know? So it's like we have a community of people like that.
And that's the thing. Initially, like when I was getting really pissed off, I was going to say to Konnan and say, hey, I just want to come on and talk sports now because these wrestling people are pissing me off. But actually, like I get 100 messages a day and 95 of them, I would say, are positive now. Like it's completely changed. So I'm not going to those people and refuse to talk about wrestling. I'm just not going to give you an extra hour unless you deserve it. So like I said, like the sports stuff, we made it to 108 months. 108 months means like 9 years now without a single losing month. So we achieved that. We achieved that like last month. Yeah. And this month we still have the French Open. We have Wimbledon at the end of the month. We have NBA playoffs. We have 3 rounds of Nations League. I just hit 2 locks in the last 2 days easily as well. Argentina won easy last night. And the under in the Spain-Portugal game, nobody was taking an under in that game. They see the players playing. They see Spain. They see Portugal. They're not going to take an under. But if you actually research it properly, that game was an easy like under today. So, yeah, like we're already started the month making money. Casper Ruud won his quarter in the French Open. I actually told Glyn personally, like about 2 weeks before the tournament started. Or was it a week before the tournament started, didn't I? Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to make money, it's lockbetting.com.
Cool.
All right. Go check out our boy Billy Body at lockbetting.com, and we will see you next week on Hot News from London. Boom.